Hello, dear friends. This is Kardec Radio at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're studying the book Ceifa de Luz. In English, Harvest of Light. We are translating this book, revising it, and sharing with you the free translation. When we're done, we're going to turn it to the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, which is the official publisher, and hopefully they will publish it. Well, it doesn't depend on us, but at least we are sharing. We cannot wait any longer, can we? And we're so happy to see that Chris Anastasia is here with us, Rihanna, Adilson, Sol Souza. Rihanna, do you remember a year ago we were working together on the book drive? The books were arriving there at your very location. What a joy. What an expedition, of a book expedition there. And to see that you're multiplying, it's for all of us at Kardec Radio a joy to see how much value you and your family are putting on these books, spreading it in South Africa and to the world in your studies and the translations in the Afrikaans language. Thank you, Rihanna. And Amanda Andrade is with us. What a joy. So if I haven't seen you, friends, I know more people are coming in. Join us, join us, join us. Today the lesson is chapter 27, Affliction and Tranquility. Not an easy topic, huh? We don't like to hear the word affliction, do we? It's as if by not mentioning it, it disappears. Well, yes and no. It's always a matter of interpretation. In this passage, Emmanuel touches a very subject that is very common. It's about loss. Because he talks about mourning. He quotes Jesus as stated in Matthew chapter 5, verse 4. Blessed are those who mourn. Why are they blessed? Right, Andrea Torres? We need to talk a little bit about loss. How good are you at dealing with losses? It's not an easy topic. I don't think we prepare ourselves enough, or our generations, our children, to deal with loss. Because when it happens, which is so common, the loss of a job, the loss of, the expectation that became a frustration, the afflictions in general that generate that feeling of loss. You're aiming at something and suddenly you don't achieve, so you feel you lost that game, that opportunity, that person, etc., etc. But does that really exist? Do we actually lose anything or anyone? Shall we meditate on this? So as we're seeing that friends are joining us, tonight we're going to be reading this chapter first to break it down. Affliction and Tranquility. What a pair, huh? Blessed are those who mourn, Jesus in Matthew 5, verse 4. Blessed are those who mourn, said the Lord. But it is important to remember that if there is affliction generating tranquility, there is much tranquility generating affliction. In the threshold of the cradle, the soul asks for difficulties and sores, bitterness and scars. However, recapitulating new experiences on the physical plane, they return to the obscure shell of selfishness and vanity, insisting in lies and in delinquency. In almost all circumstances, the individual pursues the escape that will indefinitely delay the planned accomplishments, as an apprentice who refuses the lesson, or a sick person who abhors the remedy. That is why, in the School of Common Struggle, we see so many individuals in gold trenches, digging abysses of insanity and flogging, in which they perform beyond the material field, and so many great intelligences are entangled in the fleeting halo of human power, edifying for themselves the dungeons of weeping and debasement, which await them inflexible as it transposes the limit traced by death. And it is for this reason that we see so many homes fleeing from the blessing of work and sacrifice, with seductive oases of imaginary joy, to turn tomorrow into cubicles of despair and disillusionment, imprisoning the careless companions who populate them in webs of madness and imbalance in the spiritual life. Value the affliction of today. Learn with it to grow for the good that prepares for the union with God, because the Master, whom you propose to listen and to follow, instead of easiness in the immediacy of the earth, preferred to teach us the true ascension, the humility of the manger, the constant imposition of service to the needy, the incomprehension of the contemporaries, the indifference of the most cherished hearts, and the supreme testimonium of love at the cross of death. He begins by making us feel the blessings of Jesus, because Jesus blessed us, saying, when you're suffering, when you feel you're mourning, grieving, you're blessed. How so? Well, let's go to the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 5, which is the longest. Blessed are the afflicted. And in this chapter, which is the longest, it talks about the justice of afflictions, the present causes of afflictions, the previous causes of afflictions, and many, many more things. What we've come to know in this chapter, first and foremost, is that in this present life, we will find majority of the roots of our issues. Usually we think it's in the past, previous lives, because we are unaware of the consequences of things in this life. But Vanessa, what do I do now? I agree with you. I asked that question myself. What do I do now? Patience. That's why in that book, there is a spirit message that tells us that we need patience. We need calmness and surrender to God in order not to go insane or commit suicide. September is coming. It's the yellow month. It's the awareness of suicide. And we need to think, what is the greatest antidote to it? The spirits have already said it. Our trust in God, taking it easy, staying calm before the adversities, and resignating ourselves. What is it? It's to surrender ourselves to God. like Stephen or Jeziel in the book Paul and Stephen. In that book, we've come to know the beauty of calmness in the face of the greatest adversities. Jeziel sees his father being beaten up to death. He doesn't go crazy. He was beaten up and then sent to slavery. He didn't go crazy. He didn't rebel against it. He always felt, since his childhood, he says, when his mother taught him, God has a plan for us. If God is allowing us to go through this, there is a reason. Friends, these are lessons that we rarely listen to nowadays. Mothers and fathers no longer teach that to their children. They often teach the opposite. Go. Do whatever you can to achieve what you want. And if we don't say it in words, we only admire them or express our admiration when they achieve material goals. So teaching them that is the way to go. We're pushing them to the abyss of madness, to the abyss of suicide. Let's go back here to the message. He says, first, in the first paragraph, what a wisdom. What wisdom. There is affliction generating tranquility. How can affliction generate tranquility? Expiation. Expiation. It's when that temporary suffering is making you come to terms with your own conscience. You despised those of other cultures. Now we know how it feels when we are foreigners. I'm not accusing anybody. I'm just giving you an example. Or when we have a socioeconomic status that is not the one that we dream of. And we work 2-3 jobs, and yet we don't achieve the minimum. How come? That affliction making us learn and value life, making us value other things other than simply the material things. How often we feel better when we use a new outfit. There will be a day in which it won't matter. For Jesus, it didn't matter. Whether his outfit was from a Nazarene, a Galilean man, no, it didn't make him less. And we're talking about the guiding model. What is this guiding model? He's guiding us. He's saying, guiding us like to the right, to the left, forward, pause, wait, silence, speak, tone your mode of speaking, etc., etc. And model, he tells us how. He not only points the directions, but he also exemplifies it. So we need to read more, to revisit the passages so we can emulate. Our mirror neurons are built to do it. That's why he doesn't need to be here physically present, because we have an inbuilt system and it suffices to read. According to recent studies in neuroscience, it suffices to read novels like the ones we have from Emmanuel, André Luiz, etc., to make us train our minds and thus mold our spiritual body, the very spirit, and the physical body to express the new person in us. The more I get together with these beautiful historical characters portrayed in the books, the more we feel connected to them, inspired by them. And that's why Emmanuel wrote those novels to Chico Xavier. It is not for our entertainment. It's coaching the mind. And I say coaching like as a personal trainer, like physical therapy for the soul. Physical therapy for the soul. We come from existence when we had a problem. And now the gospel, the Spiritist teachings are making us bring it back to its shape, to its potential. We're becoming less impaired, less disabled, more empowered, more encouraged. There is nobody in this planet, on this planet, in and on, that will be left out of the potential of growth and development and evolution. Every single creature from all kingdoms of nature, including the human kingdom, they are destined to this progress that we're mentioning. Right, Teresa Castro? Patience, waiting with love. Love it, Teresa. Thank you for sharing. Right, La Souza, Sunshine is here with us. Dulce, Karina Alice, Silvio Otero, John the Rose, Katia. So then he goes to the next one. Before, he says that before we reincarnated, we asked for difficulties. We asked for bitterness and scars. We asked. But then when we recapitulate, and that's interesting, he's telling us when we are potentially failing, when we are recapitulating. Because there are things that we're learning anew. How do you know the difference? The pain of the new or the pain of redressing old choices? You know the difference? One element, shame and guilt. I will repeat. How do I know the difference between the pain of evolution, of growth, which is the pain of learning something new, versus the pain that comes when we need to recapitulate a lesson, to repeat a lesson, to recondition ourselves, counter-condition ourselves, when we undergo the pain of expiation? What is the difference? The difference is that when we feel the pain of expiation, of recapitulation, we feel shame and guilt. Yesterday we talked about immigrants. There are people who migrate to other states, to different countries, and they feel great. They feel wonderful. There are people who feel lesser. Why? They are recapitulating something. Deep inside, they are ashamed. They feel they owe something, that's why they feel less. And what does that mean? That we need to work harder to give back. Okay, so the first scenario, Sunshine, we're learning something new. In the book Action and Reaction, André Luiz explains that there are 3 types of suffering or pain? Sure, thank you for asking, Sunshine. In the book Action and Reaction by Andre Lewis, he mentions to us that there are 3 types of suffering or pain. Pain evolution, pain expiation, and aiding pain. Pain evolution is the pain that we feel when we undergo a new scenario. Like when you go to the gym and you are working out your muscles. It's sore afterwards, but that's not because you're sick. It's because it's a new muscle that you have never trained. Like when you're learning something new, it's like, oh man, that's hard. Right? So that pain is the pain of the new. But it doesn't make you feel ashamed. Pain expiation is different. You're revisiting scenarios that you have experienced before, made choices that were unhealthy, and now in this turn, you need to make new choices. Respond differently to the same scenario, and you feel the pain. But that pain is shame, is guilt. You feel as you are repeating a lesson, like a student that repeated the year. Usually they feel guilt and shame. Okay? Hold on a second, friends. Sorry. I had to fix something here. So, is it better understood now, Sunshine? Is it? But sometimes I have repeated a lesson not to feel shame. Well, maybe that's not exactly the expiation scenario. When we are expiating, okay? One thing is when you're evolving, you repeat the lesson. But that doesn't mean you repeat because you made it wrong. You're just refining it. Like when you're growing muscle, you use 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds, and there is growing pain or no shame, right? But when we are repeating a lesson in which we incurred in a mistake, expiation usually comes in a package. There is the suffering plus guilt and shame. Does that make sense now? Thank you, Sunshine. Thank you for asking because it helps everyone. It helps us. Thank you. So he's saying usually no. We ask for it, but then when we are recapitulating, we return to what? To the obscure shell of selfishness and vanity. Because that's why we make a mistake. And there are people who, before they achieve positions of power, they promise, like politicians, I'll do different. I'll never do those things. The minute they are there, they repeat the very same old things, or worse. And I think it's worse because often they know what it is and how it feels, and they repeat it. It's even worse. And he says, insisting in lies and delinquency, meaning encapsulating themselves, imprisoning themselves in lies and criminal actions. And criminal actions, he doesn't mean here only before human laws, before God's laws. And he repeats in the next paragraph, twice, the next two, he says, in almost all circumstances, the person pursues the escape that will indefinitely delay the planned accomplishments. Like a person who refuses to take the remedy or to learn the lesson. And that's how people do it. Oh, no, come on. Now that I am at the top, You want me to stop and think of everybody else? But people didn't think of me when they were there. Now it's my turn. Selfishness, pride, vanity, and they create a prison for themselves. And they delay their progress. I know people who, out of material needs only, or material willingness to grow higher, they move to another country and they trade their best values just to make money. They would love to stay with their families in their country, but they don't. Joana de Angelis tells us that before we reincarnate, there is what we call our reincarnatory environment, where we're going to find the people we need to live with, the circumstances we need to undergo, the scenarios, everything. But when we escape, we delay our own happiness. So, how do we avoid escaping from our commitments regarding our reincarnatory plan? How? By revisiting our instinctive tendencies. Observing ourselves, knowing ourselves. Kardec asked this question to the spirits. He asked, how can we avoid making mistakes and progress steadily? And the spirits answered, know yourself. We need to be the scientists of our very selves, of our own. Study ourselves. So when I finish this, I will post here a document for you for your exercise. It's a spiritual contract simulating your reincarnatory plan. It's a document that we used as an exercise for the youth in the first International Spiritist Youth event. Each one of the participants received it to recall, to make sure they had an opportunity to think about why they are in this reincarnation. So I'm going to share, as soon as I finish this, I'm going to post here this document. You open, it's in a Word file, and you can read it, and you can complete the exercise, thinking about it. Am I generating affliction in this life? Or am I generating tranquility? Is my current affliction generating tranquility because I am having peace of mind? For example, there are people who do not want to take care of their parents. It's too much of a burden. That's the tranquility that will generate affliction. There are parents who don't want to take care of their children. That is the type of tranquility that will generate affliction. We know people who don't want to commit their free time to helping others. But when they are sick and tired and have a problem, they want the world to be ready to help them. That's the type of tranquility that generates affliction. No wonder the good spirits always told Chico Xavier, serve more. Tranquility on earth is only in the clean conscience. That's the only tranquility we'll find. Rudy is saying, I need to put myself in someone else's shoes or sandals. Exactly, Rudy. That's a good way to put it. Exactly. And that's when we're going to generate tranquility, because we're going to fulfill our commitments. Read the book The Messengers by André Luiz through Chico Xavier. That book tells us time and again the accounts. Every chapter is a different story about somebody who was prepared, who committed, who asked for duties to be fulfilled, tasks, etc. And then they reincarnated. Vanity and selfishness delayed their accomplishment or prevented them from accomplishing anything at all. So he says, that is why in the school of common struggle, that's Earth. Okay, wake up. Good morning, school. I'm in a school. You're in a school. I'm not in a paradise. I'm not in heaven. I'm not in a retreat center. I'm not in vacation. Even when you go to vacation, you don't stop. It's time to work in a different way, to be useful in a different way. And he says, that's why in the School of Common Struggle we see so many individuals. And then he gives the cases who are rich, digging abysses of insanity. Great intelligence in the human power, edifying true prisons of weeping. And they will only wake up after death, if they do. We've been there, done that. We've been there, done that. Oh yeah. And we said, no more. So what is the new action that you want to take? You want the new you. What is the new? But I don't know the new. Well, imagination. The Department of Imagination is going to help us. Go wild with your imagination. What's the new that you want to become? The old, in some ways, didn't work. In other ways, did. But we want transformation, remodeling. How can I do it? Do the exercise as if you have an architect before you, your guardian angel, and says, I can already see myself being at peace and emanating this peace and making people feel that peace. That's a sublimated goal, a noble goal. In the book Living Spring, Emmanuel talks about our zone of influence. And he says, you cannot measure the extension of your influence onto others, but you can ponder the quality of your influence based on the types of thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. Am I being good influence? Am I being a positive influence? Am I being a caring influence? We need to ask ourselves. And it is for this reason, says Emmanuel, that we see so many homes, which is majority, fleeing from the blessing of work and sacrifice in seductive oases of imaginary joy. It's when people, you look at their Facebook, party, 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 and you're like, oh my gosh, the life of this person is so easy, huh? I work and work and work. And every time I see them, they're traveling, they're partying, they're traveling, they're partying, they're meeting people, they're having a blast. Well, call a detective and do a research on them. You're going to find out things are not like that. Usually, when people do this, it's a sign that they are so empty inside, they need to fill in the gap with a lot of noise around them, a lot of activities, because if they stop, they're going to find no accomplishment. just illusions, like an oasis. It's a mirage. A mirage in the desert. And the obsessors love to do this. They create images, stories, and they bring us. Come on, this way. Yeah, keep coming. Forget about those people. Keep coming. Keep coming. And when they see that you are almost out of helping sources and resources, they take the veil out. You see the mistake, you go crazy. Or people commit suicide. People who leave their homes for illusions at work. Oh no, I need to work harder, more money. It's going to help the family. It's going to help the world, but I can't see my children. I can't be with my wife or my husband, but that's the price we pay. And they go on and on and on and on and on. And one day they find an obstacle. They realize, what have I done? They lost their family. Their children are already deep in addictions. Their partner or spouse are depressed, or they are lost by suicide. Their communities, there is no community. That's Emmanuel, it's not me. And they say, they do this all imprisoning their careless companions who populate them in webs of madness and imbalance in the spiritual life. So those choices here continue in the afterlife. Some people think I die and then somebody's going to rescue me. That's it. No. It depends. If we know this much, I don't think we'll even allow somebody to rescue us that easily. Because this is a lot of knowledge not to be multiplied. Friend, if you're listening to this and you live in the United States, or you live in any part of the world, especially in places where there is no spiritist group, it's your turn to recall that you were asked to keep that flame on of the spiritist message wherever you are. You asked for it. All it takes is your goodwill to fulfill your own commitment. If you don't do it, I know somebody else will, or probably much later. At a time when people whom you committed with your heart to help and to rescue, to support, have already undergone their problems without these teachings. No matter what people say, because I know some people say, why you're doing this? It's vanity. Thank you very much. I will watch out, but I'll keep sharing what is good for me. Spiritism gave me life, and I'm going to share with the world. I'm going to share with anyone, and I won't stop, God willing. That's how you could and should see yourself. And like Professor Eurípides Barçanufo, when somebody told him, don't you think what you're doing is vanity? And he said, no, it's zealous. I'm being zealous. I'm being zealous to these teachings. Be zealous. Open a book club at a local library. That's it. Open a study group online. Do the God at Home with friends. It doesn't need to be a flag of a spiritist group, but Share this light. If you keep it only for yourself and your loved ones, that is selfishness. And we'll be repeating the same mistake, an apparent tranquility that will generate affliction. And then tomorrow, we're going to reincarnate in a country where there's no spiritism. And that hurts. And that hurts. When I moved to the United States 20 years ago, I moved to Baltimore. There was no center. I was shocked. I told myself, how come I didn't think of this? Okay, what am I gonna do? I wrote to Divaldo Franco. That was 1998. I talked to people, and that's when talking to Jorge Godinho Neri, when he was here in a mission, he helped us with his wife Antonia Helena to put together the first cells of the Spiritist Society of Baltimore, which is turning 20 years this October. I'll never forget. Started in my house. Do I regret? No. Did I know I would be staying in the United States? No. I had a contract as a scientist. I was paid by Brazil. My contract would have ended in a year, and I would have gone back. They renewed for a second year. Everything was so successful and accomplished. That's when I received the opportunity to stay, and I decided to stay solely for Spiritism. I kept on working, but I knew the reason why I came here. At first, it wasn't clear. At first, I was here temporarily. Many people even thought, oh, you're gonna leave one day. What's gonna happen to the group? I said, I don't know. Only God knows. And look where we are. Right, Cris Anastasia. And here you are, 20 years later. You see, Andrea? Andrea, hurry up. Hurry up. That's why we're here. We're not here to live our lives. We're here to serve. And when we are Spiritists in a land where Spiritism is not known, that's our priority. To make it known. That's known. That's our task. Who else is going to do this? Oh, but Vanessa, who am I? I know you're a child of God. I'm a child of God. You think God wants Jesus to do this alone? No, Jesus is counting on us. Right, Rihanna? Spiritism gives us peace, and it is pure love. If we want to serve, we need to share while we learn. Grow where you planted and give fruit. Thank you, Rihanna, and that's what you're doing. I cannot doubt myself. Why do you think you're less capable than anybody else? That's self-esteem. We need to boost that self-esteem. Sing more often to yourself. I am a child of God. Feel it in your heart. I am a child of God. Right, Silvio Otero? I reincarnated to learn to do good. Thank you, Sylvia. We support you. And we also need to feel that we're called to share. As Rihanna said, we share. Right? That's the tranquility we don't want. We want the trouble of making it happen. We want it. Because at the end of the day, if you tell me, ask Vanessa, in 20 years, we never stopped. In 20 years, was it easy? No. Was it comfortable? No. Do you regret it? No. Would you do it again? Yes. Would you stop? No. Would you do more? Yes. How so? I don't know. But God knows. And we're doing this together at 11 p.m. Creating together this vibration of current, a current of vibrations that are positive, constructive thoughts that are giving new vibrations to the planet as we are here together. We're holding a current of constructiveness. And then finally he says, value the affliction of today. Value it. Right, Chris Anastasia? My mom and I have been going to the SSB for almost 2 years, and it was the best thing ever. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Thank you. Right, Dulce? We're in this journey together, right, Dulce? We can't stop. We all know it's a valuable affliction. When we go home and say, how am I going to solve this problem? We need to make this happen. Only God knows the behind the scenes. But then when we are able to receive that inspiration and materialize the plans of the on high, we're like, wow, that's beautiful. That's so good. I'm not going to regret it. Value the affliction of today, learning with it to grow for the good that prepares for the union with God. Because the Master, who is our guide and model, didn't have an easy life. If he didn't, why do you think we would? If he's the governor, why do we think we would? Right, Adil's a journey for many lives. It's just the beginning. We agree. As Mentor Joseph says, we're rehearsing in this life many relationships, friendships, companionships, and works that will be maximized in lives to come. What a joy, huh? We're here together. Next life, we're working in another project together. And in a billion years, we're building a planet together. I don't know. Only God knows. But what we know is that Jesus came before us to lead the way. And who wants to follow the Master? We do. Yay! Jesus is passing by. Oh my gosh, are you ready? Are you on your PJs or are you ready? Come with him. Jesus is passing by. And when he comes, certainly everything is fine. Sadness is gone, happiness arrives. And when he comes, everything is fine. Sadness is gone and happiness arrives. Jesus is passing by. He's passing by every day. Shall we go? Shall we go? Tomorrow, God willing, we will be back. And we'll be back with chapter 28. It's about our mental state. And he says, renew yourselves in spirit. Paul to the Ephesians, he is asking us to renew ourselves, and he talks about the goodness of God, our fountain of renewal. Right, Sunshine? Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Sunshine. And here we go with one more day. Right now, as I turn this off, I will post the spiritual contract document. Read it, fill it out, think about your spiritual contract, and hopefully we're going to realize that we're creating more tranquility than affliction. Right? Thanks, Emmanuel, Teresa. You're right. For the opportunity of reminding us of all of this. Big hug to you and all of you, La Souza and friends. Until tomorrow.